Hi, Dragon Age Veilguard has a lot of discourse about it, mostly about just you having the option to be a trans person, which is very funny because like that's not an issue at all. Yet for some reason, a lot of these people really think it's a huge issue, and that is what a lot of the discourse about the Dragon Age Veilguard is. One thing I do think is a good takeaway from this is that if all of this discourse is just about, dang dude, you can be a trans person, then like I think the game must be good then, because like if that's all they have, if that's literally all they have to talk about, then the game itself must be pretty cool, you know. But hey, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We have Asmongold here to go through and just like see some of the arguments. It's not really more about him specifically, but rather the sort of idea of this like whole discourse. There's been a lot of videos. One video was talking about a person was like, man, dude, you can't have huge hits in Veilguard, which is pretty funny. Not because it's untrue, not because it's untrue, rather because it's a bit funny to talk about. Like, man, dude, that's what the game really needs. Okay, huge hits, you know. Everything else is secondary other than huge hits. But hey, you know, I'm not the medium gamer for that. No way to segue from that point. Other than that, let's just go through this then. I will be, like I did before with the last Asmongold video, I will be looking at his chat just to sort of pointing out and saying like, oh, this is what the sort of direction and this is the sort of thought process, you know, they're having. So, and also I will be 1.5 times speeding it because, you know, just to make it go somewhat faster.
So Dragon Age, apparently this has been a very controversial thing online. And so they introduced their character creator to combat. Here we go.
And by controversial thing, it's, dang dude, these guys really don't like trans people for some reason. Cool.
Our gods are back. Our gods. How do we stand against that?
After 10 years, we're now just a little over a month away from playing Dragon Age the Veilguard. I played a hefty...
I actually didn't realize that it was coming out in over a month. So we're going to be playing this... Oh my god.
Just to go back here and look at the chat.
Realized that it was coming out in over a month.
You can find it, yeah, right here. DI. Classic gamer move, okay.
So we're going to be playing this... Oh my god. Wow. We're not playing? Oh, I'm playing this game 100%. Absolutely, I'm playing. Do you really think I would miss an opportunity to play a game like this? Are you insane?
7 hours of Bioware's first original game since Anthem in 2019, and...
Anthem? How's Anthem doing? Did they take it off Steam? Never was on Steam? Oh, okay.
I get his point, you know, and I'm not disagreeing with his point, but it is pretty funny, you know. Yeah, so Anthem's a bit of a bad game, sure. Like, I'm not necessarily sure how that transfers to this game. You can say a lot of people will be worried about it, and I think that's fair to say. But I don't think this is, like, something that's a really good argument. It's like, well, talk about the game itself. Wouldn't it be a better argument to show the game itself rather than just like, oh, look at this other game that was bad or something?
I'm sure there's a lot of people playing it then.
Fourth mainline installment in the Dragon Age series, starting with the prologue and later loaded into several different saves. As a longtime fan, what I'll say is 10 years is a very long time, but so far, what I'll say is 10 years.
Okay. Okay. Now, will he explain what's bad with it?
So far, the Veilguard...
Damn, dude, doesn't explain it. I guess the issue, if I were to interpret it, is that it looks a bit funny, which I guess, you know, but like, I don't know, man. I don't really think Dragon Age hinges on good kill animations.
Hasn't disappointed.
It hasn't disappointed. That's right.
I've never seen this before. There's something kind of exciting about it.
Now, I could talk to you about the combat, and I will, or the gorgeous locales, that's coming too, or the way it felt, or
I'm
the
sorry, guys.
gorgeous locales.
Am I the only person that looks at this and I think that this is below standard?
Okay, let him finish, let him finish.
Like, your average Unreal slop Souls-like rug pull NFT game has better graphics than this.
Okay. Could you care to explain?
Coming too, or the way it felt to see Varric and Solus again.
Damn, so you and me, viewer, we can see the same video, we're looking at it. This doesn't look bad, this looks pretty amazing, you know? I absolutely love just this sort of a design of it. And if we go back just a bit more, right? Go back just a bit more.
Now, I could talk to you about the combat,
Yeah.
and I will, or the gorgeous locales.
We can just look at this and see this sort of like aesthetic beauty at this, right? Because it does tell a lot. This is the sort of ancient Elvanon like architecture, right? And something that specifically Solus used. So it's specifically designed around like his ideas and what he wants from it. And we can look at this and this just looks like absolutely gorgeous. It's a huge facade in showing like power and will, because you know it's also part of the Fate and somewhat. We can also see some of the elven parts of it, like the tree roots are growing down into this dome. It's just like really great. And not only that, but it also makes sense for the character who inhabits this. This is Harding's place, from what I remember, and this is like fairly what Harding likes. Harding is a scout, goes out in nature, and this makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of beauty to this, yet the only thing he can say is, Dane, dude, don't you know other games are bad as well? And again, this is one thing I want to point out as we go through this, is that, hey man, it seems like these people have nothing to say. They can't explain why these things are bad. They can only say that, hey, this is bad because it looks like another thing, but not really explaining the difference or the similarity. They're just saying it's bad. And again, this is what I really want to point out, is that when you look at Dragon Age and, you know, Bioware games in general, they're not as bad as people say they are. They just want to say it bad, and they can't say anything else. You know, they don't have any arguments for it. And that's fine if you don't like this, but I think the reasoning for why you dislike something is very important. Because having like critical thinking skills and critical analysis is very important for like anyone to have. Because it allows you to examine the world in what it actually is. But just saying thing is bad is only useful when you're in casual conversation with friends, you know? Also, pointing out to the chat, soy, brilliant.
That's coming too. Or the way it felt. Or
I'm
the
sorry, guys.
gorgeous locales.
Am I the only person that looks unreal slop?
That's coming too. Or
And another thing that I want to say as well, because a lot of people say graphically it doesn't look that great. Why does it have to be graphically amazing, right? Why does it have to be on the cutting edge of graphics? I think, and something I think a lot of people will agree with, maybe not necessarily Asmund, but one thing is that, is graphics very important for a game? I don't think so. I think graphics have to be to a point, right? So like we can have a casual realism to it. But I think we're fine with graphics, right? Trying to chase this graphical trend of like getting better and better and better has only led to a lot of like terrible outcomes. Trying to focus on it so much leads to things like other areas of the game, like story, gameplay, and stuff like that, from being, you know, as good as it can be, because the developers have to pour so many resources into the graphics. It's a give and take, you know. And I think if I could choose what to give, I would give the graphics away, because I don't think that's what's important.
or the way it felt to see Varric and Solus again.
Hey, Chuckles.
Hey,
Hope I'm not interrupting.
Oh, sorry. I just wanna.
Felt to see Varric and Solus again.
Hey, Chuckles.
Chuckle.
Hope I'm not interrupting.
And I absolutely love the like the tilt that he has for his head. It's just so amazing, dude. Oh, I love him.
Or I could skip straight to the character creator and start with,
All right, let's see it.
there's so much hair. Look, I loved Dragon Age Inquisition.
No, I don't want to see this fucking shit. Because every single time that they have a bunch of hairstyles, it's like 5 hairstyles for men and 55 hairstyles for women.
You know what? You want to know what the secret is, buddy? Men don't fucking give a shit about their hair. It's true. It's obviously true. Now, am I saying every single person in existence who is a man doesn't care about their hair? Obviously not. Don't misinterpret to me. But let's be real. Most people have like my general hairstyle of you just have fairly short hair and you comb over it. That's not bad. That's okay. But that just does indicate a reflection of reality, which is a lot of dudes just don't really have that many different hairstyles. And also, another thing that's also weird to say is that women hairstyles and men hairstyles, there's a difference. Who gives a shit, you know? Asmongold has long hair, right? And back in the day, ye olden days of like the 1950s, long hair would be seen as a feminine thing. That, to me, indicates that there's a shift about. And if you have hair that looks a bit feminine, that doesn't mean it's women's hair. That just means it's a hair that's mostly associated with women, right? So, like, I don't understand the complaint here. It just seems it's like, yeah, dude, there's not a lot of hair options for men because men don't do hair. It's like, yeah.
There's bald, short, Fade, long hair, balding. That's basically it. Oh, dreadlocks. Yeah, usually they have one for dreadlocks, right? For white guys that are black, right? Sure. Yeah, definitely. Maybe a couple of those. That's it.
But fans have long acknowledged.
And also, one thing that I do think is weird to complain about that hair comment is like, what's the issue though? Like, is the issue of liking male, which is obviously what he's basically saying, but it does seem like just like an issue to have an issue, and he doesn't really know what the actual hair is, you know? It has a lot of hair options, and not just for women, but for dudes as well. And additionally, a lot of hair options are like ambiguous, you know?
Jesus.
The limitations of its character creator. The Veilguard
Okay, so you got the emo
acknowledged
haircut?
the limitations of its character creator.
Oh, that's okay. No, it's not really an emo haircut. Never mind, I was wrong.
Character creator.
No.
The Veilguard
yeah, it
blew
is.
me away in that regard.
Yeah, the last
After
one
the
was.
lackluster options of the last entry, it's wild to see what we've got to look forward to.
Yeah.
30 hair options for Kunari and 88 for non-Kunari, complete with gorgeous physics
All
as Rook
girl hair
scurries
color-
around
all girl
northern
hair
Thetis.
options.
So many different hair textures are represented.
And again, I think this is another weird thing that a lot of these type of people like indicate to themselves is that they think that long hair, and specifically these kind of hair, are female kind of hair, which is not the case. Like, hair is hair, right? It doesn't matter what it is. Sure, there are associations, what hairstyles for which gender, but like for the most part, the more hairstyles people wear, the more androgynous it becomes, and I think that's better, you know? All this hair, like the hair that's over here, I don't really think this is like a woman or man hair, right? You can even look at the other ones. Like, none of these are like female hairs, you know?
All
as Rook
girl hair
scurries
color.
around
All girl
northern
hair
Thetis.
options.
Like, neither is this one as well. If you have a man with it, like, it doesn't seem like it's too different.
So many different hair textures are represented, whether you'd like totally straight hair.
I gotta tell you guys, like, I've been very negative about this game, but I've got to give it to them. I think the hair particles and the hair physics are really impressive. It's some of the best I've ever seen in a game.
Oh, hey, look at that.
I've got to give it to them. I think they did a really good job with
You
it.
can be reasonable once in a while.
Yeah.
2B waves,
That's
or
really, really
4C curls. In making my character, I was drawn immediately to a long braid that whipped around as quickly as I did. Kunari horns also see a massive improvement.
Yeah.
With 49 unique styles, options range from large and imposing to decorative or even asymmetrical.
Okay.
That said, yes, their foreheads can look pretty jarring. I
I
played
think this looks fucking garbage. Like, their foreheads are too big. They look like
They look like fucking man, dude. Also, one thing here, that's a funny thing to say, my guy, in the chat. Also for the foreheads, like, yeah, I can see the foreheads being a bit of an issue, but like, I don't know, man. I feel like this is such like making it, and this is another thing I want to point out as well. So much of these discourse around the Dragon Age Veilguard and some of its issues seems like it's mountains out of molehills. It's not talking about the combat. It's talking about these things like forehead sizes, right? Which is like, we can reduce it, you know, but it's like, no, it's mountain out of molehills. These small, tiny, insignificant things that could be a bit better is now made this is why the game is the worst thing in existence, which is like, my man, calm down a bit. This is not bad. This is just like the forehead and whatnot. And again, this doesn't look bad. She doesn't look bad at all. It's just, to me, it feels like it's a break with the reality. And something I want a lot of you to realize is that the people who are saying this will not have any discourse whatsoever, would have no dialogue whatsoever. They don't care. They have their opinion and they're not being changed on it at all. They think the game is terrible and awful for whatever reason, and they're not going to be like in any way convinced by it. And it's fine if you don't like the game, but I feel like some of the reasons that these people have are really fucking dumb, you know? Like, forehead sizes is really the breaking point for you. These other things like the transgender options is a breaking point for you. It doesn't really make much sense.
scuffed Klingons. Yeah, I don't like it.
As a Kunari mage during most of my preview, and will say I got used to the look pretty quickly. Dragon Age the Veilguard actually only marks the second game of the series where you can play as a Kunari, so the odd imbalance of forehead versus face feels like stylistic growing pains. I remain curious about whether more time with the character creator...
Can you make her boobs
growing
bigger?
pains. I remain
Body proportions, go to
curious
that.
Okay, yeah, so at the beginning I said a lot of people for some reason were really focused on the fucking tits, you know? Which is a weird thing to do, you know? So, I guess why not just talk about it quickly? Should we have giant tits? Should we be able to make giant tits in video games? Sure, why not? You know, who amongst us doesn't like giant tits, you know? But is it a breaking point if a game doesn't have giant tits? No, it isn't. It's again another one that I want to talk about, which is Mountain and Molehill. Something that's very small is made into this huge big thing. And you can say, well, he's talking about body proportions. He's talking about how it looks. my man, most female people, you know, from what I hear, don't have giant bazongers, right? They don't have huge milkers, you know? They just have these kind of like, and this is another thing I want to say. A lot of these people, and there's no real nice way of saying it, like, oh, porn brained, right? They've seen giant tits most of their like life because they consume that, you know, and that's all they can really see, you know. Like, okay, sure, you want giant tits, that's fine, but this isn't like wrong or disproportionate. Like, this is just a woman, you know. If you look at most women and see them like naked or whatever, they're not that impressive, you know. And that's not bad, you know. That's just life, you know.
I remain curious about whether more time with the character creator.
Can you make her boobs bigger?
I remain
Body proportions. Go to
curious
that.
about whether more time with the character creator might help. The air shock of Dragon Age 2 is, in my opinion, such a beautifully crafted model. And
now, I do want to get into this before a lot of other people do, because I feel like they're using the Aeroshock disingenuously. And my man, the Aeroshock does not deserve this to be used by these kind of dumb fucks, you know. The Aeroshock and the Canary in Dragon Age 2 and the art style of Dragon Age 2 is my favorite art style like ever, right? I was very sad when I played Dragon Age Inquisition, booted it up, and was like, okay, oh wait, they changed the art style, and I was a bit disappointed. You know, I loved the art style of Dragon Age 2 and really wished it was the main style of the series, because it feels so distinct. You know, all the races look distinct, all the sort of texturing and whatnot looks very distinct. It looks Dragon Age to me, and that's what I always associate with Dragon Age in my mind, you know. And it does suck that we won't get characters like the Aeroshock anymore. And when I say this, because I do want to say this to get ahead of people, my guys, if you think the Dragon Age Veilguard Canary look bad and you would want this, then I fully agree with you. But my man, I doubt some of the intentions of these people who are like, I want them because it seems like they want to say they like the Dragon Age 2 Canary just to beat Veilguard over it. It's not that they prefer it, it's that they want to use it to beat Dragon Age Veilguard with a stick, you know? And that's like not great, you know? You can just say you like it and you're a bit disappointed. The Veilguard Canary are not bad. I would only really categorize it as a missed opportunity.
And I would love to be able to create a Canary Rook that
I'm sorry, but this just looks so much cooler.
Which I agree with, but I doubt
I think
the
this looks
intentions.
way cooler.
feels as memorable. Customization certainly
Also, again, I will say it is very funny how so many people I've seen are like, man, Dragon Age 2, the greatest, really great game, you know, really continue the legacy of Origins. Like, not everyone, obviously, but I've seen a lot of those people, and I doubt their intentions by saying that. Not all of them, but I doubt it.
certainly doesn't stop
Head
at
shape?
hair or horns, of course. Every aspect of your Rook is editable, even allowing for facial asymmetry if you choose. Sliders allow you to change everything from head shape to the melanin in your skin to the presence of vitiligo.
Why she got Tetris on her face? Like,
There's a tattoo.
yeah, what the fuck?
I'm imagining he's talking about the tattoos. That's a weird thing to complain about, but sure, man.
Perhaps
Every time I hear that word, I can only think Uncle Ruckus with revitiligo. I'm gonna be
Okay,
honest.
melanin as a word is a bit of a weird thing to say. I think that's the one he was talking about. Let me.
Yeah, what the fuck?
Perhaps
Every time I hear that word,
Oh, also, just I want to mention in the chat
yeah, what the fuck?
over here.
Go.
Where was it? Yeah, DEI game, DEI, woke. It's very funny.
perhaps
Every time I hear that word, I can only think, yeah, what the fuck?
perhaps
Every time I hear that word, I can only think Uncle Ruckus with revitiligo. I'm gonna be honest. I cannot hear that word without thinking of the Boondocks. I got revitiligo. Good one. Yeah, it was so good.
my favorite addition, however,
Yeah,
is
they
the
must have
introduction
talked
of body diversity.
How's
Cyberpunk
that?
2077 and Baldur's Gate 3 had whiffs of this, but nowhere near what you're capable of in the Veilguard.
Yeah.
Which is much more similar to the breadth of the character creator in Dragon's Dogma 2.
Yeah,
For
it was really good. You should be able to make fat characters.
each of the 4 races, there are plenty of
Don't
presets to
disagree,
choose
I
from,
guess.
all with varying heights and
Okay, so chest. Okay, so you can make their boobs bigger because see, it even has that's the ass slider, the dick slider. Okay, this is pretty decent. All right. No, I like that. You're having a dick slider. A lot of people don't have that.
muscle or fat distribution. Once you've chosen your preset, however, you can build further upon those elements as much as you'd like.
Yeah, sure.
First is a triangulation of coordinates, allowing for many unique combinations. of
Yeah,
body
it's muscular, skinny, and fat, and you figure out where you are in the little triangle. I get it.
types that are thinner, larger, or more muscular.
Yeah.
Height sliders are fun, especially when it means watching my particularly short elf ruin years of Solus's ritual planning by pushing over a statue.
She's not even that short.
The options feel almost endless. There's even a glute slider. And yes, I gave my...
Now, this is another weird thing that a lot of people have, like, made a huge issue of, which is, oh, damn, dude, you're telling me that this is a fat fucking ass? Which is, again, like, porn brain for these guys. They can't really see, like, a giant... And again, like, their reference for a giant ass is something most women don't have. Now, is it bad that most women don't have giant asses? No? No? What? This is, again, another weird thing that these people are complaining about, which is, oh, this doesn't look big to me. Which is like, my guy, it's fine. You know? It's okay if it doesn't look big. That's okay. It's all right, you know. And this guy's gonna complain about it, you know, going like woke DAI and kind of stuff like that. But it's, again, just a dumb thing to talk about.
No, it could have been way bigger than that.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, it should be way... That should be, guys, that should be 20%. That's it? That's like nothing, bro. Like... Oh my god. At least it's probably... I guess. Well, what about... Are they going to show the dick slider? Let's see what we got with that.
One hell of an ass. All of this is only
yeah,
scratching...
right. Like, apparently this girl doesn't spend 4 hours like I do on Instagram every day. No, it's not.
And again, these guys are porn-brained, you know? They can't see beyond it, which I think does influence a lot of their decision-making, you know? And it's just, like, weird to me. It's honestly, like, really weird that these people are complaining about it like that. Now, you can say, like, oh, he's joking, he's having a bit of fun, he's like, oh, that's only, like, 20... It's like, but is he, though? Is he really, though? And this is a thing I think a lot of these people will do, which is hide behind jokes. Like, this is the Schrödinger douchebag, right? Where if it's not received if it's not received well, people will say it's a joke, but if it's received well, people will say like, oh no, I'm true, it's based in what, something like that. Which is, again, like, I think what's happening here. People who say like, oh, that ass is like flat and whatnot, which is like, okay, sure, it compared to like porn, I guess, sure, but like, it's fine, you know?
Surface. I haven't even gotten into facial hair, makeup, scars, or tattoos.
Yeah.
As an elf, my rook sported some Vaseline, but there are
Also, I just
so
want to
many
mention,
different
this rook absolutely looks gorgeous, dude. I absolutely love the design that she made for this character. It looks amazing, dude.
designs for both the face and the body to experiment with. While I didn't spend very much time exploring customization for the Inquisitor, I just know we'll all get the chance
Also,
to
sorry, I just love the Inquisitor's like little robot arm here. It's so cool.
make them in the way we've always imagined.
It's good to see you again.
The people making this should do the same thing that Dragon's Dogma 2 did, where they introduced the character creator before the game came out.
And also, just to comment here quickly, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I think Bioware said they are going to do that. I'm not sure. It'll be cool, though. If they do.
That was a really good thing that Dragon's Dogma 2 did, and it was really smart. And I think they should do the same thing.
So it may be a relief to some of you to know that Veilguard abandons the awful green lighting of Inquisition's character creator and instead allows you to cycle through several lighting
Now, this is another thing that a lot of people like gave this woman shit for, is this guy's face. Now, I could be wrong, okay, but I'm thinking like this was literally a joke, because the way she describes it when you see this one is literally like, look at my handsome guy, you know? Like, she's clearly joking. She's having a bit of a laugh, you know? Like, look at this dude who's clearly the peak male performance, you know? But a lot of people took her seriously, which to me indicates like they're very humorless, you know? They can't really take a joke, which is very funny to me.
options in service of creating rooks that look just
What is this guy? Who is this guy? Look at his face. What is this?
And not even that, but like, I don't know, man. He just looks a bit funny, right? I like him. I like him a lot.
This is like an Amish goat god.
to cycle through several lighting options in service of creating rooks that look just
She
as
made
good in
this?
gameplay
Yeah.
as they do
Good for
when
her.
you create them. Combat, meanwhile, was a refreshing change from Inquisition. My go-to class has always been Mage, and even as a Knight Enchanter, I often felt like I was standing in one place holding down the left trigger. This felt like a return to the pace of
Now, that is like a very good... Now, a lot of people will say that like people don't give Bioware criticism, but that is like one of the good criticisms for like Inquisition, is that you do feel like you're standing there. Now, that is like a bit of a weird thing you can talk about, which is Veilguard, because Dragon Age Origins and 2 were literally just you standing in front of someone and hitting them until they died, right? Like, legitimately that was what it was, you know. And was it okay if Inquisition did that? Yeah, right, because it followed the sort of trend and idea of that. But it is a criticism from people who didn't really like that kind of combat, especially Inquisitions, to want something like Veilguard, where it's a lot more dynamic and you have to like move around the battlefield a lot more. Again, it's I think a good criticism for Inquisition, but also does demonstrate that sometimes those criticisms, while good, can maybe miss the point
of Dragon Age 2, with innovations that improve upon the experience of battle overall. The Veilguard
What is your camera?
introduces a new fighting style for mages featuring an orb
Now,
and...
I can't necessarily say a lot about the combat of Veilguard, because combat doesn't really interest me a lot. In video games, I see it more as a tool for storytelling and to sort of represent the world in some way, right? So the only thing I can really say is I don't really agree with him, unless he gets very technical in it, which I'm not sure if he will. Then I'll have something more to say.
Dagger for close quarters combat. It's tailor-made for players like me who love magic, but also really like to stab.
Yeah, like Red Mage, sure.
During my preview, I played through the prologue and then dropped forward into...
It's actually crazy. Like, I remember playing Red Mage in Final Fantasy XIV, and it was crazy to me how well designed it was. I actually think it's probably one of the best designed classes in a game that I've ever played. It was so good.
Points of Act 1, so I really got to quickly experience the progression Rook and their companions can go through as fighters. We may not be able to take control of our companions this time around, but the Veilguard really encourages strategizing with them. They'll call out to you when they've rebuilt their mana or stamina, and the ability wheel even suggests combos. My focus during the event was mission-driven, so I didn't get as much of a chance to interact with the characters as I would have liked, but even the brief moments of banter endeared me to them pretty quickly.
It didn't break. You call that nice and quiet?
Each class gets its own ultimate ability. Think the focus
I love Liu Kang's, dude. I love him so much.
along with a ranged attack.
Man, I really got to say, I really think this combat really just doesn't... I don't think it meets the mark.
Now, will he explain it? Let's see.
I really don't think so.
Also, quickly here, just to look in the chat, it says looks 15 years old. Now, again, is that a bad thing? Does a game looking old, is that a bad thing? Now, obviously for some people, and this depends on who you are, will like a game who looks very like fancy and whatnot. Which is like, okay, sure, that's fine. But I don't necessarily think that's needed, at least, especially for like Dragon Age, right? Because Dragon Age has never really done like peak, like a graphic fidelity or stuff like that. Because I don't think that's where the strength of Dragon Age lies.
So, I don't know. I mean, like, it looks very dated. This game does look like it came out in 2016. Did you expect it to? Yeah. Yeah, I expect every game to have very good combat. I think if you have a game that has action combat and the action combat is bad, then you have a bad game. It's that simple.
Now, how is it bad?
Yeah. That's the way it works.
Fears that means yeeting your shield like a giant metal boomerang. I've always played Dragon Age for story and not combat, but with this new system, I had so...
And he doesn't explain, which again is an issue that people will say like, yeah, it's obvious. And some of the commentators that I did have on a previous video for this one, that I covered, another Amazon Gold video, said like, he reacts to stuff like that. He doesn't really like do a lot of those sort of analysis stuff. But like, the thing is, why shouldn't he, you know? Like, why shouldn't he talk about these kind of things to actually, you know, explain what he means by that, or at least like hint at it so people can understand what he means. Because what is wrong with this action combat? You know, I don't know what's wrong with this action combat because, again, I'm not really into these kind of like types of things. But I don't see anything wrong with it. You know, like personally from my viewpoints, I don't really see anything bad about it. Maybe some camera issues, but this seems like an issue that's inherent from like every single game, rather than like an issue specifically towards Veilguard. So again, like, what's the issue?
Much fun. I felt present during every encounter and truly accomplished after every boss battle. That said, there's definitely a bit of a learning curve. I still found myself confusing controls a few hours in.
I do that for probably the first 43 hours of playing a game, so she shouldn't feel bad about that.
Departure from all 3 installments, but luckily the Veilguard offers 5 different difficulty levels that you can change at will if you want to ease yourself in.
I really hope that the highest... I'll probably play the game on a high difficulty level, right, because of ego. But I really hope that video games can get into making high difficulty not be bullet sponge. Because I feel like that's what happens with a lot of these games, where like they want to make the game harder.
Now, this is one thing I will give like Asmongold sometimes. He does sometimes have like okay takes, you know? But it does seem like a lot of his like weird takes around like, oh yeah, man, here's me just saying, oh yeah, DEI, woke, modern, and stuff like that. And he'll get to that eventually in this video. But it's sometimes you see through the veil, and it's like, okay, he has some good takes, but it's weird. He's a bit of an inconsistent kind of guy. He doesn't really seem to have a lot of consistency with his positions.
The way they make the harder is that they double the health and they double the damage.
As a Dragon Age fan, the Veilguard felt like a homecoming of sorts. Just as much as seeing familiar faces
Seems
in
like that?
Solus and
Yeah, I don't
Barrick,
know.
I was overjoyed to be back in the world of Thetis itself. Moving us north allows for that sense of discovery I got in Inquisition.
That looks
and
good.
if I'd encourage anything, it's to really look
Like
at
the
your
only frame
surroundings.
that looks good.
Not only are there small environmental puzzles to
Only frame that looks good? I don't know, man. This also looks good, I guess.
angle, along with small and effective moments of visual storytelling, but the horizon
I'm sorry, but Honkai Star Rail has more congruent and coherent puzzles than that, if that's the best.
Okay, I don't. That's weird. Should this game? I don't know, man. That's weird. Like, it's again like this kind of stuff, which is like really weird. Which is like, yeah, look at this other game. It has better things than this other game. Which is like, that's weird and kind of missing the point. Should all games have like that, or should all like? Here's the thing, right? Some games having light puzzle elements is okay because they don't really need it. You know, take for example like the Elder Scrolls series. Elder Scrolls has always like sort of flirted with the idea of puzzles, and they've been successful in some ways and unsuccessful in some others. Because the sort of understanding of when you go into an Elder Scrolls game is not really, even in Morrowind, is not really, okay, let me bust out my notes, you know, let me bust out my calculator to sort of determine, let me do all this like extra kind of stuff. Because most people who go into Elder Scrolls are not looking for puzzles. They're not puzzle gamers, you know? They're a different kind of gamer. And so having light puzzle elements for like these kind of games is fine. Again, it's a weird thing to say.
Best they've got.
is full of breathtaking
And also, I
scenery.
just want to say, like, that is, like, this is an amazing shot, dude. I absolutely love this.
They've got.
Is full of breathtaking
So it is
scenery.
always weird to me when people say this game looks, like, bad or anything, because, like, I don't know, man. I have eyes. Maybe you need maybe you need glasses. Maybe you need some context lenses. But like, this looks amazing, dude.
That drives
That looks
home the
cool.
scale
True.
of these locations I've
I
personally
agree,
always
wow.
wondered about. One new locale, for instance, is a gorgeous underwater prison called the Ossuary. I won't spoil what you're there to do, but the design alone makes it one of
Kill
the
the
most
shark.
memorable moments I've had
That's a
in
whale
any
shark.
Dragon Age game. Even after hours of gameplay, I still felt like I could have played for many hours more.
Fabricator.
I'm optimistic about the Veilguard and excited for it in a way I haven't quite felt about another game in quite some time. If you'd like
I don't understand how people can look at that combat and be like,
And again, like, he doesn't explain. Okay, so let
this
me
is what I'm excited for. I can't understand it. I look at it and I really think the combat is extremely lackluster and mediocre. I also think that the narrative will be. Well, let me finish the video. It's almost
to
over.
see even more of the game, check out our
Now again, this is the weird thing, right? Because it doesn't explain why the combat is bad, right? Now, a lot of people in the comment section of the previous video did say like, oh, he's an action kind of guy and he sees a bit more. Yeah, sure, but then he needs to explain it though, right? I can't interpret what he means when he doesn't explain it. And this is another thing that I think a lot of people who dislike Veilguard's combat don't really explain why it's bad, right? Now, you can explain it in contrast to the prior games, right? You have like only 3 ability slots, you have only 2 companions with you, you have it's action combat as opposed to like real time with pause, as in with like Dragon Age Origins 2, and like somewhat Inquisition is complicated. And that I can definitely understand and actually have a discussion surrounding, because then it's a lot more clearer, because do you want Dragon Age to be consistent, and do you like that gameplay style, right? And if you want Dragon Age to be consistent, then the answer is obvious, right? The Veilguard's combat is bad on the grounds of it being inconsistent. Do you like the combat from Origins, and then therefore it's bad on that grounds? It's not that the gameplay itself is bad, but rather that it is bad that it's changed, you know? And that I can definitely understand. But this sort of idea that it's bad combat on its own, I don't get at all. Like, this isn't really being explained at all.
exclusive IGN First
I
coverage,
watched
which
that.
features even more gameplay and deep dives on Rook's companions. And for everything else in the world of video games, stick with IGN.
Thanks.
I think that there's going to be a number of things in this game. Like, I actually think the narrative and the story in this game is going to be like it is going to be a masterclass in how to write a soft modern story. And I think it's going to be garbage. I really do. And the reason why I think it's going to be garbage is because I don't think that the writers of this game and the people that are making this game view it as a fantasy game. I think they view it as basically a way for them to this is like a heightened reality of what currently exists. And I have like kind of 2 points of like reference here. Is that let me see if I can find it.
Okay, so there's a lot that he said there, and he doesn't really define a lot of his terms. So one, he doesn't say what soft modern is. No, he doesn't even say like what kind of fantasy game it is, like, or what like fantasy is to him, because it's very clear what like fantasy is to like this guy, to Asmongold, which is some like very like straight dude version of it, right? Which is it's cool, it looks epic, it's dark and gritty and shit like that, right? And that's not like not fantasy, right? But what Veilguard is doing is still a fantasy game. You know, it's just a different kind of fantasy game. And not even like one that's too far from Dragon Age, you know? The only difference is that like it doesn't have zombie orcs, which is sure, you know, I guess it doesn't have zombie orcs, that's okay. But like everything else, the game is still a fantasy one. And especially when he says that it's like it's a like a version of reality. Like, my man, why is he talking about politics here, right? Like, this is in no way going to be a story about like the current political affairs now. And additionally, it's just so dumb, you know? It doesn't really make much sense. It doesn't really have a lot for me to grasp on, because this guy is a bit incoherent. And this what is a lot of the people who are saying like Dragon Age is like soft and modern, which they mean woke, which they mean gays, trans people, and women, right? And like, okay, cool. This is the issue you guys have. It's not actually with the game itself. It's just because the game itself has, oh, woke, which means, you know, females, gays, and trans people.
The individual person's skin color is referred to as melanin. Now, like, they do have pronouns in the game, which is like, I don't really think that's like that.
Now, melanin is a weird, like, the only thing I think is weird about melanin is just like it's a weird thing to say, but like, even then, it's not a big deal. And he's making this big deal saying like, yeah, if you can tell when they say melanin and use pronouns, it means, yeah, it's going to be a soft modern story about like current times and shit. And it's like, okay, I guess that's an argument, a bad one, but an argument still.
Big of a deal, right? I think,
and it's bad because like Baldur's Gate 3 does it. Now, I think Baldur's Gate 3's story isn't like that great, but for different reasons. Not because it's like woke or some shit, but because like Larian has different priorities, right? But for Bioware, their priorities is making an RPG where it uses the mechanics of an RPG to like tell a story, you know?
I think it's annoying, right? But like, sure. But like, you have,
and it's another thing. It's annoying, but like, sure.
But like melanin on the character. And I think that oftentimes what ends up happening is that people, what they do, there's 3 options. Yeah, he, him, and they. That's clearly what the options are going to be, right? Like, I mean, you could easily say that. Like, that's clearly what it's going to be. And so, U.S. culture. Well, and then you also have, you can even have, and this is what I think is really lazy about it, is I talked about this earlier, but since we were on the video, I'll show it again, is that in the Veilguard, you can actually show...
Also, it's very funny how this guy is like, yeah, look at this guy who's like notoriously a dumb fuck who hates like women and shit. Like, look at him. He says, not only does Dragon Age Veilguard feature top surgery scars, but also vertigo and ciliate. I'm terrible at names. And you know what these things are? They're just like skin conditions. Who fucking gives a shit? Some skin conditions look fucking epic, dude. It's like, man, dude, what is this like shit? You know, it's like, obviously it's a real serious thing, you know, but like, I don't know, man. I don't see it's an issue, you know? These are obvious fetish self-inserts being foisted on gamers. Now, one thing I haven't really talked about... Oh, wait, Tumblr is built into AAA games. Now, one thing I haven't really talked about a lot in this sort of video thing is that a lot of these people will say these like things like, these are obvious fetish self-inserts being foisted on gamers, right? It's like, who says this, dude? Who is like saying this, you know? And it's, you know, it's very clear that every accusation is a confession from these guys. This guy is accusing Dragon Age Veilguard of like obviously putting fetish self-inserts, right? But it's like, we know, my dude, it's not that. Why would you say that? No one was thinking of it. It was only you. Your mind and the things that you consume are influencing you, you know? And like, as for Tumblr has built in AAA games, it's very fucking dumb. Because it's like, yeah, if it's like politics, which is like left-leaning, it's bad then, right? Which is like so dumb, you know?
You can have an...
And again, this is all they have, right? This is the most they can do, right? Which is, yeah, man, this game is bad because like you have this, and this guy is now basing this entire claim on why the story is going to be bad on, hey, you can have like transgender options and pronouns and shit. That's why it's bad. Which is like, you do realize Baldur's Gate 3 had that as well. Like, now it's like, and again, this is personally like, the story is bad for a different reason, but it's not bad because of wokeness, you know?
Indicator here where you can have top surgery scars in order to emulate what your scars would look like if you had trans surgery. I think this is one of the most lazy and devoid of any degree of creativity examples of why you should expect this story in the game to be soft, modern, flat, and garbage, and completely uncreative. So we live in a world of...
Like, what? Like, yeah, this is why the story's gonna be bad, because, like, you can have trans surgery scars. Like, okay. So? Who cares? Like, generally, who cares about this? There's, like, no issues with having, like, trans surgery scars in Veilguard. Like, there isn't, you know? And this is, like, constantly baffling me, because these guys are literally, like, fucking insane. Because, like, they're disconnected from reality. And one thing I wanted to point out, right? And I might as well do now. I'll mention it again later. This person, right, talks about and says, like, remember when Baldur's Gate 3 was considered Omega Turbo Woke before the anti-woke grifters realized it sold like crazy, so now they pretend it's not? This is an article from the Daily Mail saying, Baldur's Gate Gone Woke RPG series reportedly features much larger penis options for females than for males. And, like, these people, right, are not on good ground. Because Baldur's Gate 3 is one of the most, like, wokest games in existence, right? It has, like, again, transgender options. It has, you know, like, different body types, right? It, not majorly, but it has, like, you being able to customize the sort of, like, genitals and stuff like that, on any type of character. But it also has a variety of different, like, relationship types, lesbian, gays, all that kind of stuff. But it also has, like, again, like, drag queens as well. It is a very, like, diverse game, you know, in many more ways than one. And these people, right, are now trying to go after Veilguard along similar lines and are not realizing that, my guy, you've been left behind. You have been left behind. People do not give a shit about wokeness. They do not think it's a bad thing. They just think it's whatever. It's cool to feel represented in a game. And these people do not realize this and will eventually expect, when Veilguard does, like, well, I'm not saying it's going to be, like, best-selling game in the universe, right? It's going to do well. It's going to do well. But when it does well, they're going to shut up about all this, like, diversity nonsense. Because they don't actually care about what, if a thing is good or not, right? They just care about, like, bashing something until going to the next one, right? They don't have any opinions or morals. They don't call Baldur's Gate 3 woke anymore because it sells really well. People will not be discouraged. People who will buy Veilguard will not be discouraged by saying, man, it's a woke garbage game. They're not going to be dissuaded by that because, well, they either see through the bullshit or they just think that's whatever and okay. The people who will not buy Veilguard, right, are two groups. These people who simply think that, like, hey man, wokeness garbage and stuff like that, and won't buy it. They won't buy it, obviously. He will obviously buy it because he says he will. But then we have another group, which is the undecided ones who don't know about the game. They do not give a shit about wokeness. What they care about is the sort of gameplay and stuff like that. And these guys have not made a good front on why the gameplay is bad. They've only said it's bad because it's bad. They haven't said anything. And any normal, like, gamer bro dude who sees this combat will just simply say, like, oh, cool, that looks nice, neat, awesome. And that's it. That's all they'll ever say, you know?
Magic, demons, dragons, and shapeshifting.
So, just to say, like, wrap it up. I don't think that this, like, whole discourse surrounding, you know, Veilguard about it being woke and about having, like, trans stuff and whatnot is, like, gonna affect the game at all. It's not gonna affect the community because these people were always gonna hate, you know, Veilguard no matter what. They don't actually care about the game's quality. They just care about hating it at all. And I think that's very important to know because we can just say, like, these people are not making valid criticisms. These people are not saying, hey, I have an issue. They are not acting in good faith. and therefore, if they're not acting in good faith, which is bad faith, they shouldn't really be taken seriously, you know, because they don't actually want to engage in discussion or dialogue.
However, you still need to undergo a, surgery in order to change your gender. What a ridiculous thing to say. It doesn't even make sense. So when I see something like that,
now, that's a weird thing to say as well, which is like, oh, like, this is a magic world. Can't you just, like, be transformed into your gender? Sure. But Dragon Age still has surgeries? Like, obviously he doesn't know the lore stuff like that, right? And so that's fine. But I think it's okay to assume on good faith to say, yeah, I imagine there are some, like, surgeries in this magical world. Like, surgeries aren't, like, removed forever, you know? Like, or you could, like, go on this, like, simple, like, I'm not necessarily sure how the magic system works or how, like, magic in general works in this setting, but it could be possible that surgeries exist. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know.
And then I see the character's skin tone be referred to as melanin. I see an image of a game that is made to reinforce a real-world view and be a hyper-reality rather than a fantasy world.
What real-world view, dude? That trans people exist? And again, this is a weird thing. It's like, what is the issue here? Oh, trans people existing. Like, how is being a trans person political exactly? Like, it's not. They're just dudes, women, and they thems, you know?
I find it to be very weird. And I don't think that you should expect to see a story that's written by a studio like that have any sort of depth to it, have any degree of edge, any sort of internal truth. I think that you can expect to see an extremely flat and extremely dull and a very soft modern story that takes no risks and only reinforces what the artists and the writers that are making it want you to believe about the real.
And again, this is based on the fact that you can have that one, it's referred to as melanin, the skin color, and that, like, you can have top surgery scars. Like, damn, dude, what an indictment, my man. Especially because it's so wrong from everything we know about the story so far. I'm not going to spoil it because I don't want to do that, and I haven't seen it a lot myself. I've seen, like, a few screenshots, but it does not look like a bad game. The story feels real Dragon Age-y, you know? It has the ideas of, what was the concept, like unreliable narrators, where one person says something but another person says something, they're both correct but they're contradictory in some ways, and so you have to marry those two positions to actually find out the truth. Like, it has that in spades, and it also has the idea of, like, these characters being used as vessels for the storytelling. It is a Dragon Age game, and it does have a lot of, like, grit to it. There's a lot of consequences that, like, will leave some areas in dire circumstances, you know? So again, he's not only wrong, but he's also, like, dumb in his reasoning, you know? He's not just, like, wrong, he's incorrect, right? Like, incorrect in how he came to his conclusion.
World. That's the way I feel. It feels condescending. It is. And so that's my opinion. And I understand that people might not think this, but I want everybody to clip what I'm saying here, and let's take it to the bank whenever the game comes out, and we'll see if I'm right or not. You're criticized as Stone Asman. These little game devs are lost in their own bubble. You should be 1,000% for it. Yeah, for sure. They're excited because it aligns with their values. Why would any player, including trans, want that in a game you can magically directly choose to be the other sex and gender? Who wants to be ugly in an idealized fantasy? Yeah, I don't think that anybody...
Again, it's like, my man, you do realize... I don't know, man. It's such a weird bad faith, and like, again, there's no real reasoning to it other than hate. Hate is the driving motivator for some of these people. I'm not sure about Asmongold. Asmongold is very inconsistent in his beliefs, so I'm not sure if it's hate or something else, like, or money or whatever. But, like, for a lot of these people who are doing this, it's purely just hate. Hatred of trans women, which is kind of dumb, and trans men, which is kind of dumb, you know? It's like, oh, dang, dude, you just hate these people, which is like, your argument's invalid then. Because, like, you don't have anything other than just, like, hatred, which is dumb. And even then, it's like, who gives a shit if a trans person exists, you know?
This is, like, I can't speak for any trans people, but, like, I can speak for a lot of people that I know that have scars that, oh, I don't think that hardly anybody, unless, you know, you want to look like a badass or something, right? Anybody wants to have their scars. So I think that, like, yeah, like, if you could...
And this whole thing of, like, who wants scars is a misfucking direction. Do not listen to this sort of people who say, like, oh yeah, who wants their scars, right? No, my man, this is a misdirection, okay? They're trying to convince you with reasonable arguments to trap you in something else. They just don't like trans people. They don't like trans people at all. You don't have to listen to them and hear, like, wow, that sounds reasonable. No. Their main argument is, man, dude, this option is dumb and weird and dumb. Why is it dumb and weird? Because, like, because it's weird in the fantasy? No, my man. Who gives a shit? Like... why care, you know? Like, and again, he's been going on this rant for a long time. If it was a minor point, he could have just said, "Oh, I mean, that would have been interesting if they just had magical cards, but it's whatever." Like, no, it's a, hey, let me continuously talk about this and let me use this and reinforce this as a point to why this game is going to be like soft and modern, which he means is it has gay people, women, and trans people.
Could just not have that. I'm pretty sure almost everybody that's had surgery would just turn it off. Yeah, I am my scars. Yeah, true, except for Illidan. Yeah, everybody except for Illidan. But Illidan's not real, though. You got to keep in mind. And also, the ass slider was painfully conservative. Was painfully conservative.
Again, one brain for these guys. It's like, yeah, man, I guess having an ass that's not like the giant fucking ass of like the porn things you watch is really bad, I guess.
Crazy conservative. That's the ass. Are you kidding me? Are you fucking... This is a joke? Come on, bro. Like,
now, you can also say that, like, as in retort to me, like, why shouldn't fantasy things have, like, exaggerated things, right? Isn't that one of the charms of fantasy? Sure. But is that what everyone wants? Like, my guy, you do realize you're going to have to concede some points of not everyone thinks this is, like, necessary, nor is it needed. Sure, would it be cool? Yeah, I guess. But, like, it's not necessary. It's not needed. And it's not needed to make this huge giant point. Again, mountains out of molehills, right? Of this is like so dumb and bad and horrible. It's like, no, my man, like missed opportunity, I guess, but like it's fine,
Is this? This is crazy. Come on. That's a 100? No, it's not. I can go on that. Look, where do we have? Where's the ASMR section? Yeah, just like you just search. Like this isn't an unrealistic female expectation. There's plenty of girls that look like that. Yeah, if you want, I can give you a short list of 100 of them. Or 1,000 if you want. I don't know what the hell they were thinking.
And again, those people that he was showing are like intentionally trying to bait dumbasses like him, which are like, hey, look at these giant tits and ass, right? Don't you want to listen to my stream, Which is like, what? My man, most women don't really have that. You look at most women, they're kind of like ordinary, right? Which is not bad. That's just like life, and that's fine, right?
The chest is already at max? Yeah, I guess so. That's nuts, man. Find cosplay channels. Bro, go to your local McDonald's, you'll see massive asses. Yeah, I think so, right? And I hate that a lot of people defend it, that bigger ass is not real. I have plenty of female friends that have way too big asses. Well,
And again, this is another weird thing that you should look out for them, which is like, they're just distracting you from the real point that they have, which is, hey man, realize that like, there are real life people who have huge asses who want to feel represented. Like, okay. What the fuck is your point, dude? No, my man, you did not start with this argument. You started with the argument of, damn, dude, it seems like there's not enough ass in this game. Check now. I am not editing that out. I am not editing that out. Who's my dog?
I think that really, I think that it's very common, and it's like one of the, it's like a, how you have like toxic masculinity? I think that there's toxic femininity as well, where women like to body shame other women based off of their proportions, because their proportions are seen as...
And again, this is a weird like side tangent that doesn't really mean much of anything, Like, okay, let's talk about like this different unrelated thing. Again, like they try to fool you with good arguments to try to accept like their bad arguments. Their underlying
like too
premise.
over-endowed. I think it's very common, and like I see this happen with a lot of girls. Is that they're like, oh, well, and it happens with skinny girls too. It's like, oh, where's her organs? Like, what do you mean, where's her organs? They're working, unlike yours that have to work overtime. Like,
again, this is just porn brain, dude. Like, they just, again, like, my man, this is just like so weird. And again, these are the people who are like giving Veilguard a lot of shit. And if these are the people who are giving Veilguard shit, then man, I think this game is gonna be all right.
It's nuts. It's too seductive. Yeah, exactly. How big is 100% for the bulge, though? And that's the thing, right? Like, how big can you make their dick? That's what I want to know. Yeah, women are mean as hell to each other. Yeah, they are. They're like, anything mean that you can say to a girl is nothing like the things that a girl can say to another girl. Like, yeah, I mean, like, I've seen some of these like leaked group chats. Oh my god, holy fuck. Yeah, that's brutal, man. Yeah, why can't I dislike the video? I mean, I don't think you should dislike the video. I feel like the video was good, right? It's not like there's anything bad about the video. But I'm just saying that I don't really think this character creator, and I think that the decisions that they made with the character creator are a mining canary for what you should be able to, and the hip width, that's 60%. There's no way it is.
And again, porn brain with these guys. They just think of these like, yeah, exaggerated proportions they have. And again, you can say like, why shouldn't women in like these fictional video games have exaggerated proportions? Okay. like if you're just saying that as like a vacuum, a statement in a vacuum, then sure, I guess. But if you are like saying within this context of what is being said over here in this video and other places, they're just people who either A, don't like women, and just like want like porn models in their video game, right? Which is like, my man, like, I don't know, man. I can agree on like with the statement in the vacuum, but like I disagree with in this context, because it's not being used for like a good intention, right? This is just like, man, dude, this game is woke now and soft and modern and therefore bad. Like, okay.
This is outrageous. Can you play as a left-handed person? 10% of people are playing left-handed? I don't know. That's actually a good question. Yeah, I have no idea. Game mods incoming. Well, it is a PC game, so we'll see what happens. That's insane. Another slap in the face of women. Well, I think that a lot of times it's just...
And again, like, this is another weird thing that they try to, like, say to people, which is like, hey, man, this is, like, a slap in the face of some women, right? Because some women have, like, these huge proportions, right? And again, it's trying to throw you off to what the actual issue is, which is, hey, you gotta realize that these people are not actually believing in these arguments in the same way you or I believe, right? They are just using it so they can have their own agenda into it.
Well, let me actually read some comments first. Inquisitor, the glute slider didn't add a thing. Yeah, exactly, bro. Fucking exactly. God damn. The fact they have Inquisitor back, yeah, a lot of people are pretty positive about this. Just add some texture to their foreheads. Why is it so damn smooth? It looks ridiculous. Yeah, it does. It really does look ridiculous. What the fuck is that Canary at the 5-minute mark? It looks like Quagmire with horns. Yeah, it fucking does. But anyway, yeah, I think you should expect like this game to be a masterclass in soft modern. Yeah, there's a video right there. Give it a like. I mean, they do their best, right? The sliders are not made for men and women, just to be clear. Well, then you're making a mistake because there's men and women out there. And if you don't make a version of a character that looks like one of them, people will have a harder time identifying with the characters. It's that.
And again, this is like another one, which is like, it's pulling off from the actual point of the argument, which is like they just don't like it at all.
I find it to be very odd that we've removed male and female, something that 99% of people identify as, in order to add body type 1 and 2 in a way that nobody identifies as.
My man, I don't know if you've seen the average person in existence, okay? They don't look that impressive, They look pretty plain. Like how this woman looks here, it's like what women mostly look like, Not as wide hips, I guess, but most women and men don't look that extraordinary, right? Which is like weird to me that these people are like, man, you should have this. Like, again, missing the point, Within, like, in a vacuum, the statement, it makes sense and can be agreed with. But in the context of this, it's like completely dumb.
How is it inclusive to remove language that 99% of people use? Well, I think that there's a disparity, though. I think I think that there's a little bit of a problem. Yeah, because they say so. Yeah, it's outrageous, and I think that more people should be outspoken about stuff like this. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous. Appeasing the LGBT. No, guys, can you please, like, you don't, like, there are plenty of guys and girls that are gay that don't have anything to fucking do with this. There are.
Now, here's the weird thing that I find very weird when he says this, right? He will say that, like, no, dude, don't do that. Yet he'll let his chat overall say DI, woke, modern, and he'll say modern soft himself, right? Like, literally, the title of this video is Modern Audience Will Love This One, which is like, my man, you are just complaining about the LGBT, You're just not saying it because it's not in vogue, Saying, like, LGBT is not, like, what most people will say anymore because now it's a lot more easier to identify when you use those words. It's like, yeah, you're just a dumbass, right? But now it's like, oh, no, dudes, you're going to have to update this language, right?
There are tons of people that are gay that also think this stuff is stupid. This is a subset.
No? What? Like, I think there are some gay people who don't like Veilguard, that's fine, But, like, I don't think they dislike it for the reasons you're saying.
Of people that are often not even part of, like, this underrepresented group that are trying to put themselves out there and virtue signal like they care about them. It's just like what I said with the Assassin's Creed team.
I don't know. This, again, is a weird argument to say.
Shadows. It's a bunch of white people that are trying to add a black person in Japan because of diversity. And then they get all the details wrong because they don't have any respect for the culture.
I don't know about Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm not a big fan of Assassin's Creed anymore. I don't know. I don't think this is being implied. This is like happening to Veilguard at all. It seems like from most people that I've seen, most of them do like the options that Veilguard is providing you. And you know what? Some people want to see their surgery scars. Is that not representing them? Like, again, it's a weird thing that these guys do constantly, which is, yeah, man, I'm actually not patronizing you. I'm actually being a better person. Like, in what fucking way, my guy? In what way are you being better? Like, and they won't really answer this. They're just like, hey man, I'm part of the in-group, which is again to distract the fact that they just dislike this group. They dislike those groups.
Sure. So annoying. They're woke assholes. Yeah, they're like the Karens of the internet. It's still the LGBT agenda. No, it is a small subset. Most people that are LGBT agenda are like,
and yet he allows his chat to have this whole like, oh, woke, DEI, stuff like that, which is basically just saying like LGBT, but in a different way.
Don't prosecute us, let us be able to get married, and let us live our lives in an equal way. That's what most normal people that are part of LGBT think. That is like the 80 to 90% of them. Like, yeah, this is not, like, again, I think the majority of this is done by people that are trying to do it in the name of other people. That was 20 years ago. Yeah. Just got here what's happening. Hell no, they want more rights. I mean, I think they should have any right that a normal person should have, right? Right to get married, anything.
And again, dude, this is, again, like obfuscating from what the actual issue of these guys are, which is they try to make themselves seem like rational, normal, but they're weird and dumbasses, you know? They don't actually care about these groups, because what is this person complaining about? He's saying this is soft and modern, which is, again, a dog whistle for, you know, woke, which is also like gays and trans people and, you know, women and stuff. It's like, okay, that's what they really honestly mean. They don't mean anything else. They just mean that. And so now that you have that, like, within, like, the context in mind, right? It's like, okay, him saying this is just telling his community, don't use that language. That language is not, like, good to use anymore, right? We got to make ourselves seem like, hey, we are actually okay and accepting of these people. Which, you know, in reality, not sure about Asmongold. He's weird. But these people and the people online are not.
Anything else, of course. Yeah, it's not even a question. They just want to be treated normal, and these developers stereotype them. Yeah, because they don't know any gay or trans people, so they design things, or black people.
Weird to say that when Trick Weeks, I believe a non-binary person, and Corny Bush, who is a trans lesbian, right? Like, dang, dude, I guess, you know, but no, what they'll say about them is like, yeah, dude, they don't actually count because they're the bad ones, which is like, again, moving the goalpost, and also just them like trying to make themselves look more inclusive and actually the real people who support them, but actually in reality they don't actually care.
People, right, with Assassin's Creed. So like, what do you do when you don't know any black people in real life? Well, whenever you have a samurai fight, you put on hip-hop music.
To be fair, the French people probably don't know.
Because you don't know, you like, what the fuck? It's crazy because like, even like recently, you know, there's like that one song, like I listen to the radio a lot. Like there's like this like one song that's like a country song. It's actually really good. And it's like a black guy that's singing a country song, and it's like super, super popular. And so it's just like the bar song. Yeah, there you go. Is it Shabuzi? Yeah. He's great, man. I think he's...
Now, another thing that you should also notice with these guys when they say it's like, I love these like different kind of people. I'm not racist at all, you know? Like, my man, you do realize like majority of like culture was like made by like some black Americans just in some, like in Harlem or something like that back in the day, and like still made all predominantly by black Americans, right? Like, yeah, dude, we get that, you know, but like that doesn't make you less racist, you know? I'm not saying he's racist. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that like people who say like, oh yeah, I love these hip hops, these like things being done by like these minority groups, my man, that doesn't make you less racist. You know, you having black friends, it doesn't make you less racist, you know? Racism is not who you choose to associate with yourself. It's a mindset. It's an ideology, you know?
It's great. Straight up. Yeah, Old Town Road. Yeah, I guess there's another one too. Yeah, with Lil Nas. Yeah, but it was the new one. Yeah, I think it's a great fucking song. And I don't know. Like, I just wish that you'd... I wish people were able to treat each other like people rather than, you know, representations of a group.
And that's it. Wild. Hey, wild, hey. And again, these people I just don't get at all. They're pretty dumb, you know, all things considered, and they want to be seen as like fairly like neutral people who are just like looking at something that's ridiculous and out of whack, you know. But in reality, they don't actually care, you know. They just want to hate. And this is again all just of what people dislike about Dragon Age Veilguard. I just want to go through some of the comments, just to get a feel for it. It's weird how women in real life are more attractive than women in these video games. My man, I'm sorry that you've been like influenced by porn, you know, but like, yeah, sure, I guess, you know. Number of women with larger than a B cup, hundreds of more. Number of women with wide hips. Yeah, man. And again, this is all these people are just talking about, which is, hey man, like, Why are they not representing all women? Which is again just like them wanting to have like porn characters in their video games, right? Again, you can say in a vacuum, I can agree with like the statement that, hey, shouldn't there be a lot of range and huge tits and asses? Like, yeah, sure, I guess. But that's not what's being said here. This is being done in the context of, man, dude, why is this woke ass, dumbass, gay ass game being so woke and modern? You know, like, why is it doing that? You know, it's like, you know, man, one hell of an ass. For modern audience, diversity and represented. When somebody says these words, it makes me not want to play it or listen to their opinion at all. Like again, these people, they just don't like the modern stuff. They don't actually care about the gameplay. Look at how much this is not talking about the gameplay or the story. It's so fucking dumb that this game is setting like this, and they have all the characters talk like a modern day 20 something. Let me tell you something, dude. That's been Dragon Age for the entire fucking existence. Hey, I feel present during every encounter. It's okay. Modern audience equals 0.001% of the population. My man, you do realize that Baldur's Gate is one of the most fucking gayest games in existence. And again, now this is where I want to point it out. This one. I bring this up again because I want to say when people in the comment section of this video and elsewhere will say that, hey dudes, like, well, we're fine with Baldur's Gate. Baldur's Gate 3 was the okay version of woke, okay? It wasn't bad. No, my man. People did not like it. Baldur's Gate gone woke. RPG series reportedly features much larger penis options for females than males, right? And this just isn't just for like this article. It was everywhere else. A lot of people throughout the internet before Baldur's Gate 3 launched and the success of it came out were calling it modern, woke, dumb, and woke garbage. They were doing that. Because, you know, that was what they do. They hate these games until it turns out they're actually good and people like them, and then they turn. Most people, most normal people, don't mind this. They don't mind this. These people do. And it sucks for them because now they are being left behind in some way. A few more. Top surgery scars, but don't believe in women that have cups larger than B. Again, these guys are like porn-brained and trying to make it seem like they want to be representative of women, but they aren't. They aren't. But yeah. So yeah, I mean, not much else to say other than that, you know? These people are just like really dumb, and that's it. Asmongold, throughout most of this video, and a large chunk of this video, was not really about like the game itself, was more talking about how woke, modern, and bad it is, right? In that context. And yeah, not much else for me to say other than that. So if you like the video, perhaps consider liking. And if you know, even like it more, perhaps consider subscribing. And additionally, perhaps you could comment down below and talk about what do you think about this? Do you think, and also, here's the thing, I'll have this sort of discussion. What do you think is actual issues with like Dragon Age Veilguard? And this could be like real issues, not like actual issues of like it being woke or whatever, right? Issues, and I won't necessarily agree with them, right? Some of them I will disagree with, and I think that's very dumb. Like the whole, it looks like a Pixar thing, which is very dumb to say. But I will still accept it as like, okay, that's an actual criticism of the game itself, instead of this whole like garbage here. And what do you also want to talk about? Like, rambling now a bit, but that's the basic gist. Please tell me your thoughts on them down below. I hope you enjoyed the video.